The environment is something I've always been extremely passionate about, especially coming from New Zealand where we have such beautiful nature, and I spent my childhood always out in the hills and out in the ocean. I do love seafood, and it's a great source of protein, etc. And then I was in Tokyo with some tennis players. I was playing the Tokyo Open, the Japan Open over there, and we were in a sushi restaurant, and a friend of ours, another tennis player, was ordering rounds for the table. One of the rounds he ordered after a little while was chopped whale, and something in me just recoiled and was disgusted, and I couldn't bring myself to try it or even think about trying it. And that set off a bit of a chain reaction in me about thinking, why is there this arbitrary line in my mind about what I can eat and what I can't eat, and what's right to eat and what's not right to eat? When I was walking back to the hotel that evening, I started questioning my own cultural barriers and thought, if I can't eat a whale, then why is it okay for me to eat the tuna or the salmon that I had earlier, or why is it okay for me to eat pigs or sheep or cattle? And the initial answer was, there's no difference. Having spent quite a lot of time in the ocean as an avid surfer myself, with a family who dives, the ocean is something that's very, very close to my heart. Spending time among sea creatures is extremely gratifying, and they're curious and fun. That was definitely enough for me to avoid fish on an ethical basis. And then the more I learned about it from an environmental perspective, the more I learned that for every pound of fish that we eat, there's up to 5 pounds that's just completely wasted as bycatch. The ocean's fisheries are just being depleted. Even in New Zealand, where we've had a very tight rein over our fisheries for decades now, you still notice a big change. Talking to my father, between the way the ocean looked 30 years ago to the way it does now, the state of the oceans is going downhill pretty quick. So I started reading a bunch of books and watching a bunch of documentaries, reading a bunch of scientific articles. Those gave me the push, I guess, to try vegetarianism for the first time. So I committed to trying for 2 weeks while I was on tour to see if it was valid for me as a tennis player. And it proved to be a whole lot easier than I expected. Since that first little patch of 2 weeks, I haven't looked back. I haven't noticed any detriments. The only thing I have noticed is that my stomach feels lighter. Especially during a day at a tennis tournament, you never really know exactly when you're going to play a match. So it's a struggle to time your eating before a match. But if you're a vegetarian, then food is naturally very light. So it's a lot easier to eat and then go on court and play. So that's definitely a positive for me. A lot of the talk against vegetarianism or veganism is that you don't get enough protein. But if you're conscious of protein going into it, then there are many varied sources of protein that you can get. There's no reason for it to be bad for your body, and indeed the opposite. There's every reason for it to be great for your body if you take the right action. On a personal level, even if only reducing meat, that would have such a massive impact on the environment, and then taking the next step and going vegetarian, or taking an even further step and going vegan, these things that don't actually have too much of an impact on your personal life can have a huge impact on the rest of the world and on the environment. I'm what might be considered in some circles like a jock. I'm a professional athlete coming from a farm in New Zealand and still having made the change to vegetarianism and being successful, actually more successful since I've been vegetarian in my sport. You don't have to fit any stereotype to be a vegan or a vegetarian. It's a matter of who you are, I think.